This works. Fantastic. Welcome everyone to our session today. This session is called Radical Imagining Fellowships for NextGen Digital Activists. We're today representing the Digital Constitutionalism Network and IT for Change here in the room. The idea is that we're quickly introducing ourselves and the idea or the general idea of the session, and then we'll take it from there. It's great that you came. It's very nice that you all took place at the table so that we can have a conversation. And this is what we imagine for this session anyways, to have a bit of an exchange, because we have many things from you to learn about what kind of fellowships are useful, and we're presenting the kind of thinking that we have on what kind of fellowships we think are useful for digital governance radically reimagined. My name is Dennis Redeker. I'm a researcher at the University of Bremen, and I'm also one of the co-founders of the Digital Constitutionalism Network that educates, I'll talk a little bit more about it in a bit, but that educates so far mostly students of our BA and MA programs, but has a mission too to do advocacy work. And then the question is, how can we move into a space that allows us more to educate scholar practitioners? And I'm handing over the mic to you, Anita.
Thanks, Dennis. So the starting point of my organization is slightly converse, but I hope we achieve as much as university spaces do. I come from a nonprofit space where our work is to contribute to social justice in many ways. And over the past several years, again, I will get into it in detail later on, we have worked on capacity building for both academics, practitioners, social movement people, and also those who want to be engaged in issues of digital rights, the digital economy and digital society, and both at the level of organizing communities and at the level of policy change. Through that, we've had some insights on what it might take to build the kind of institutional depth and traction that is necessary so that the digital rights debates are much more accessible to regions and organizations that are under-resourced. So the session partly also addresses this coming together of two kinds of spaces so that we can co-design something from your experiences as well for the next-gen activists and scholars who might want to contribute to the domain. So that's like a brief introduction.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Hélène Molinier. I work for UN Women. I'm managing the Action Coalition on Tech Innovation for Gender Equality. So very much here in both listening mode and really eager to see how we can find solutions to bring new voices to the digital cooperation stage, and especially voices that bring a feminist lens and have a strong interest in human rights approach to digitalization. So thank you. Over to my colleague.
Hi everyone, my name is Ahmad Karim. I'm also from UN Women Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. I lead the work on innovation campaigns and advocacy and the US portfolio within Asia and the Pacific.
Hello everyone, my name is Emanuela. I'm from Brazil. I was a youth from Internet Society and from the Brazilian Steering Committee, and today I work with children's rights and specifically allowing children to participate in this kind of debate as well at Instituto Alana.
Hello everyone, I'm Alice Lana. Nothing to do with Instituto Alana. I'm a mentor for the Brazilian youth group today in IGF, and I would like to excuse myself in advance because we have a meeting for the youth Brazilian group at 5, so I will live in the middle of the conversation. But I'm really glad to be here because I think that's exactly the kind of discussion we need to be having about having youth not on the menu, but sitting on the table and discussing.
Hello, my name is Cristian Leon. I'm from Bolivia. I'm the current executive director of Internet Bolivia Foundation and secretary of Al-Sur, that is a coalition of 11 civil society organizations working towards promoting digital rights in Latin America. I'm here just to learn, and if I have something, I will share it with you. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Ariel McGee. I am a program officer with Internews for their Asia region. I work primarily with women and youth-led civil society organizations, media, and media-adjacent CSOs, journalists, and am about kicking off a project on human rights-centered internet governance. And so we are actually, as part of that, have a large fellowship program. So curious to hear what you guys have learned and how we can implement that going forward.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Faye. I'm currently a master's student in Taiwan, and I sometimes work with or for Dennis, and I'm considering doing a PhD with him. Yeah, I'm just interested in what you're gonna talk about.
Meu nome é Raimundo Quilombo, eu moro no Quilombo Rampa, Vargem Grande, Maranhão. Sou da Rádio TV Quilombo Rampa, uma organização que surgiu na comunidade, né, como uma forma da própria comunidade contar a sua própria história através da comunicação popular, né? Então, a gente criou uma TV dentro da comunidade com o próprio recurso, né? É uma comunicação que a gente chama de dentro para dentro, que é a comunicação ancestral. A gente está aqui para participar e trocar essa experiência com todo mundo que está aqui presente.
I'm going to translate for him. Raimundo, he's a quilombola from Quilombo Rampa in São Luís do Maranhão, Brazil. He created the radio and TV Quilombo at his community, which they define as inside-to-inside communication. And o que mais você falou da comunicação de gente para dentro? And he's a popular communicator. We're here together today. I'm Bárbara Leodora. I'm from Article 19, Brazil. And I am responsible for a campaign of ours that we created in the time of the pandemic, which is a campaign which provides fellowships for popular communicators in the whole country, where they can provide knowledge and information. And we had 2 editions, to 2020, 2001, for popular communicators to inform the public about the pandemic. And then we had one last year for the elections, because we figured it was an effort to guarantee to the efforts to guarantee that it would happen, our elections, and it did. And right now we're having SCAZO Agreement edition. So we're here to learn and exchange experiences on this fellowship, because it's a great thing we've done. I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud to be here, excited.
Hi, my name is Oscar Mario Jimenez. I'm from Costa Rica in Central America. I work in University of Costa Rica in a research center that promotes freedom of expression and digital rights. And also I am executive director of MIO, is Museum of Identity and Pride. It's an initiative to recovering the memory of LGBT history in Central America. So I love the title of session, so I'm here to learn.
I'm Eve Gourmand. I'm a PhD candidate at the Montreal University in Canada. I'm also a guest researcher at Kyoto University here in Tokyo. I work in AI and human rights, and my dissertation focuses on the impact of AI on the right to higher education under international human rights law.
So one of the first things you like to do, because we know that sometimes when it's getting toward the end of a session, people have to leave or one forgets. We have a small survey that we'd like to show you a link. If you could fill it in, that would very much help us to better understand what demands and interests are of people in fellowships. These are also questions that you can answer in there in case you run a fellowship or in case you provide funding for a fellowship, just to get some resources together. We like to learn from this as we develop own models. I'm going to show the link in a second. It's a short link.
I just wanted to say that it's a very short survey. And if you can leave your email IDs, we'll be happy to also share the analysis of the survey with everybody. That's precisely to account for the conflicting priorities we sometimes have at the IGF, and therefore, the voices are not carried right through till the end. So that is the link, and I'm going to also circulate this. Please write in, a little bit like bold or something, capitals. I'm not very good at deciphering handwriting. So I'll start from here. Would you be interested in receiving a copy of the, do you need a pen? Yes. So soon after, we can open up the session. So we probably take about 5-10 minutes for this.
And one comment to those online, welcome again. And you're obviously also welcome to fill in the survey and let us know your email addresses. I will post mine, so this is most privacy preserving. I'll just post my email. Does that make sense? Post my email here in the chat, and then you can send me an email with your email address, or just send me an email and we'll send you the results as well. So how is everyone doing on the survey? Finishing up? Okay, wonderful. I just want to make sure. Then I'm going to share my slides. I'm quickly going to say something about the current activities, and then we jump into our exchange. Let me share these. As I said, I'm one of the co-founders of the Digital Constitutionalism Network, founded in 2019 in Bochum, Germany, by academics from mostly Europe, but also from around the world. We've had people from, currently people from all continents represented in the network, and the network is focused on research, but also teaching and training. That's what we're going to talk about today, and advocacy. That's also related to today. In the field of human rights and the internet, well, obviously that's the focus here. We run a database on digital bills of rights. So documents that proclaim rights and principle claims. We have now a database, I'll show this in a sec, but we have a database of 308 documents that we have assembled. It's a great resource, or research activities. But we also have an annual teaching partnership, which we now do online and in person. And we are now currently planning for long-term, 1-year research incubators to be conducted. This is how the database looks. You can check it out. It is, I think, a helpful research tool also for advocates, for advocacy, to see what other documents are out there that demand human rights and principles on the internet, in the digital field, also related to AI. And the database here is going to be updated very soon. We do research with this. Just last week, we spent a week with students from across Europe in Italy in order to teach human rights online using, among other things, these documents and the database. And going forward, the Digital Constitutionalism Network not only wants to partner with additional partners, and we're working with IT for Change, for example. We're open to other partnerships, but we're thinking about, on the one hand, how can we combine the teaching that we do with our students into translating knowledge to activists, to young activists who come in and who can benefit from this interchange. Our idea is to create year-long research incubators by which people from different ways of life, walks of life, can join. They're being supported by members of the network and of partners, by expert advisors. There will be MA and PhD students among those who receive, or part of this fellowship cohort, but also members of civil society groups, NGOs, or independent young researchers. So that's pretty much our pitch or our idea. We're still working on this. Again, working with IT for Change. But we want to be more open. We'll have some more open discussion, not on this, but just on the things you all do and the things that you can advise us also on doing when we pursue such a scholar practitioner route for teaching, which is something new for most of the people at universities. We often are geared toward the BA, MA programs that we have, but we often neglect, I think, the people that would otherwise have an opportunity to also gain academic knowledge, but who have a background in an NGO or civil society organization or any other place, really. Media organizations, for example.
Thanks so much, Dennis. I just wanted to add a couple of things. This is, I think, the 18th IGF, and in many ways, even 5 years ago, if you actually looked at people working in the grassroots on various issues that occupy the time and energies of social movements, you would find that they don't understand what digital rights are. They don't perhaps engage with those issues in such a palpable way. But I think very rapidly since the pandemic, that situation has changed. And although there used to be the idea of digital activism or using digital spaces for activism, in the past few years, movements have begun to embrace the idea that their own issues are beginning to be redefined by digitalization. So those who've been working on education, for instance, have had to grapple with edtech technologies, and others, for instance, in the health domain are quite worried about what happens to health data and cross-border data flows, et cetera, et cetera. Trade justice activists are really grappling with the idea of, trade agreements and algorithmic non-transparency in developing countries because of free trade agreements. So the field is changing, and younger people are beginning really to understand and grapple with these issues. And by that, I don't mean to overgeneralize who these youth are, but I think broadly, talking about those who normally are part of the very, very fabric of struggle and dissent in their own contexts, and people who are really showing the way in terms of the pluralistic dimensions of human rights that we would really like to present, right? So we have at IT for Change done 2 rounds of, I would say mentoring of fellows. One was on the digital economy and gender through a feminist lens, and that was very rewarding. The other one was a in situ 1-week fellowship program that we did in Thailand earlier this year, which was called Frames and Frontiers for Digitality. If you would have 2 minutes, maybe you can say something from your, and you could, maybe the 2 of you that have to go, is it already time? Okay, I wouldn't, it's already 5. Yeah, I understand. So that's fine. So on the Frames and Frontiers for Digitality, we really found it extremely useful that we brought people who are mid-career professionals from different organizations, and they had a lot to say about how they would shape their programs. And the programs that they were holding either as officers in, let's say, large organizations that were working on poverty and development, or organizations that were working on digital rights. So these were very instructive. One of the things that came out was, are the existing fellowships for digital rights leading us in a way to a kind of individualized paradigm where institutional strengthening is not happening? That was one of the questions, that tech fellowships typically tend to privilege certain kinds of fellows who may not then contribute back, or the entire structure of these fellowships may not allow the contribution of their work to, sustain social movements. So the effectiveness of these fellowships was something that was called to question, and that's a problematic, just a provocation to analyze. And I just wanted to put it on the table. We just have 2 broad questions for the session, and maybe Dennis, you can.
Yes, so there are obviously many questions that we have. We have proposed 2 things to discuss, and we're very happy if you bring in your other questions and your questions for discussion. The first one here, also on the screen, would be, what does the current landscape of funding and fellowships for young activists working the digital spaces look like? So what is out there? So what can we kind of collect also here as a brainstorming? Who wants to start?
Hey everyone, I think I'm gonna share a little bit about the youth programs that I've been a fellow and how they are organized. So it's not exactly funding, but more like fellowship. And the first one, I had a course, and one thing that I think it's really important to think about is mental health during this kind of procedure. Why? Because the two programs that I participated, they had a competition vibe. So people were really competing against each other to be able to reach this opportunity, and this caused a lot of problem. So this is an issue. I think another one is the fact that the courses, they are very difficult and they are online, so you have the accessibility things, and something that makes me wonder if the most vulnerable people, they are able to reach this opportunity. And even the fact that it's very difficult for understanding like infrastructure issues and understanding this debate and then competing against each other to be able to get the fellowship. So all of these, I think, are things that we have to face it. Another thing that I think that the programs today, they allow you to reach opportunities. Like I went to the 2018 IGF, and this is the only reason why I'm here today. Like it changed my life because I saw this is what I want to do. I want to participate in this space. But you don't have a lot of continuity to be able to, in these programs, at least in Brazil, from my perspective, to be able to continue your engagement. So what I did was I will go after civil society and the NGOs that exist, and I will try to get a job. And that's basically what I did. But I don't see a lot of youth-led organizations in that sense that are like, oh, let's empower youth, and because of this program, let's do an organization. And I think there are a few aspects of this, like the importance of project management skills and skills to, you know, go after funding and do risk assessments, all of these things that we know that it is important for a lot of, to apply to a lot of grants. And these programs, they do not help you with this kind of skills and abilities. So this would be very important to empower people through fellowships so that they can form organizations. And the last one, why I think this is so important, is because the landscape of civil society in Brazil today, a lot of organizations, they are funded by big techs. And well, if you are funded by the private sector, you have a few particularities on the fact on what you can do, on what you can speak, even if it's very open, but well, you are funded by them. So the importance of having freedom, not the chilling effect in that sense of the funding opportunities that we have. So these are a few of my considerations. I think that is very transformative to be able to participate in this kind of event. And this should continue, but also allow to more long-term engagement. And for alumni network, like how alumni can become mentors, and that they can help and engage people with their experience and build, well, futures alike. So that's, I think I approached the two questions a little bit, and maybe later I can share some other thoughts.
Well, with the UN Women Regional Office for Asia Pacific, we have kind of designed a very different model for a fellowship. It's more of like a flexible combination of fellowship to a forum to an experience and mentorship program that runs for a whole year instead of a short term. So we have this group, we call it the 30 for 2030. Every year we select 30 from across the region, different field of experiences, and where they, from UN Women's side, we give them a capacity building program, a mentorship with our advisors, connection with the country offices, so they have, you know, the data and evidence and the strategic overview of the organization of what's happening in the region, but also connected to the country offices and where the implementation is happening. But that doesn't stop there, so that's more of like a preparation phase. And those group are amazing. They are like leaders and activists and CEOs of companies and researchers. So what we do with them after that, we work with them in co-creation. So they co-create campaigns. Right now we're launching an online toolkit on online GBV, co-designed with them. And it, you know, what's really unique about the work that they do, that they want to create a knowledge product as a living system. So it's not just a knowledge product that will put it on the shelf, put it online, and forget about it. No, we update it every year. So last year we launched one version. This year we're updating, adding more forms of violence, for example, innovation, the stakeholders who are working on it, and then building campaigns and other initiatives on the ground. It's being translated into 9 languages right now in the region. And then other experiences that, some of our members do really like, that some flexibility to attend their own preference events or forums, conferences. So they get to select some of those events, and we support them, whether it's financially or with nomination, to attend some of the big forums. We also nominate them to be speaking on decision-making forums like big conferences, CSW, the General Assembly. So it's kind of a pre-selected group where we invest on them, but at the same time, they are actually the one who is giving us their expertise and what they know. And then at the end of the year, they have the choice to stay for another year as more of a senior fellow, and then mentor the other ones who is coming and be part of that pool of opportunity, or they can just move on. But all of them, they decided to stay. Yeah, so I think it's one good practice that we find that flexibility to give to, especially for young activists. A lot of them, they're studying, they have their work, they're doing other amazing things, and I think it should be giving them the flexibility to come in when they need to, pull out when they need to get attention to other work in their life, especially if they're not like paid or will pay it for some of that work, to take a break when their mental health is needed. And I think they have that. When they have that flexibility, they give you 200% of their time because they come at their own terms. Also getting them involved in practical challenges and giving them real life experiences that they relate to it, and they don't have to attend other things that is not of their expertise or relevance. I think, we have a privilege at the UN organization where we can nominate them to large-scale decision-making processes, and I think this is where they see the value of sitting with minister and head of states and be able to communicate, the reality of their life. And I think it's very different when they say it than when we say it, or when older people say, oh yeah, I was young once, I know what you feel. Like, no, you're not. This is a different reality, and I think it needs to be said by them themselves.
Thank you. I could afford 2 more minutes and came back, so because this panel is really very interesting. So I'm glad that I can help. I can collaborate as well. Just to go really quickly on these 2 questions. One thing that I do feel that I miss in some of the funding processes is the ability for the person who's being funded to participate in the design of the process, to be heard, not only be thrown into the process as a tool that will be sent through all the phases, but someone whose opinions will also be listened to, and in this way they will even engage more, right? They will feel that their opinion, not only on the content, but on the process as well, is valuable, and maybe for the funders, they will not get exactly the results they wanted, they envisioned, but maybe they will get a better result in a different form. So I think that's one approach that I would like to bring. Another thing that I think relates to what we're talking here is we have to have this balance between mentoring and trust, because I think it's important when we're talking about funding to have someone who's there for the process and listening and helping, but there also must be trust in the sense of flexibility and understanding that the person who is being funded or the organization who's being funded is not like an empty vessel that needs to be filled. It also has their experiences and a lot to teach as well, not only learn. So I think I kind of gave this overview on the issue, but if I had to choose 2 words, they would be this balance between guidance or mentoring and trust in the person who's there. Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to talk about our experience in Article 19 Brazil. This campaign started in 2020 with the pandemic. We had this money that we would use to activities and things that we're doing in person, and we couldn't anymore. So we figured we would reroute these to popular communicators because we figured they were the most qualified people to inform the Brazilian people on the state of the pandemic and what we should and shouldn't do, especially because at the time we had a government that was spreading misinformation. So we had to combat that. And I took some notes on things that we're proud of in this program that we kept doing and making it better. So the first thing is that it's not technically a digital rights fellowship, but it's also extremely related to it because all of these fellows, they do what they do online, they do what they do digitally, they do what they do using technical things, technology. So, and also we are thinking about a next edition specifically on digital rights. So that's, I hope we can do it. The first thing we realized at the time is that we couldn't have rules for the spending of the money. This is because, firstly, it was a pandemic and people were without their jobs, they were without their normal lives and everything else, and also because in Brazil we have a very extensive territory and extensive different realities. So we figured we couldn't have rules on like, oh, you have to spend this money on buying stuff to produce the information. You have to spend this money on this and not that. Because we had people at the time using the money to pay bills. So this was the first move that we decided on. And I think it's the most important one. I think it's the most valued rule or non-rule that we have in this program and that people appreciate more. And I think this created a trust between us and our fellows. And I think it's about respect too, because I think we're trusting them to do, you can do whatever you want with it. We're just trusting you're going to keep doing what you're doing, that is communication, qualified in communication. And this is about respecting their identities. It's about respecting their agency and their autonomy and their realities, because we figure we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't. Also in the format of the productions, like we couldn't tell them, oh, you need to do a 3-minute video, because each reality was different. We had people that were doing things that were not necessarily as we think about popular communication, because there were dialogues with indigenous people. There were dialogues with Quilombola territories. So I am very proud to tell this every time we have new fellows, to say, no, we're respecting your identities, we're respecting your autonomy, and it's also great to see the reaction to it. Also capacity building. This was something that we implemented over the editions, and the last one and this one we have courses and workshops and creating this capacity for them to produce what they produce already so well, but in specific themes. Also, the community network building. We see the campaign and the fellowships as a group, so we also have WhatsApp groups so we can communicate because they're all over Brazil, and they also cited this already, this creation to community creation, this where they also participate in the design of the program. They also make decisions with us on what they're doing, on the results of this. And lastly, the active engagement of the fellows with the rest of the organization. ArtCon Brazil 19 has 4 or 5 thematic areas, and they all interacted with the fellows all throughout the campaigns, all throughout the editions. We call them to give interviews, we call them to new projects, we call them to things that aren't necessarily part of the fellowship program, but we are engaging them with the Article 19 all of the time. And I think that's it. And mutual learning, which was also already cited, because we love to hear what they felt about the edition, about the fellow, and then implement new and better things in the next editions every time. I think that's it. Thank you.
Short, yeah. I'll build upon what have been said there. There's 2 things that I found super interesting. The first one being trust, and if you want to maybe trust us, and maybe you'll get something better than what you were expecting. And I think that is something that is extremely valuable as a comment, because oftentimes I feel like when you have to apply to fellowship, you have to say, like, in a year I'll be working on this, on that, or that. Technology is fast-paced. It's hard to be capable of working on the thing you said you would be working on when you apply. So trusting fellows and allowing them to work on whatever they want to work on, oftentimes it gives good result, I hope so. And the second thing is mental health and competition. This is something that we like, at least as academic family community. And if fellowships were able to provide that, to create a sense of community and solidarity between people, I think it would be super interesting. And I have noticed that it often happens when you don't have people who all look the same, when you have people that are quite different, that comes from different field of expertise, different countries, and the competition is less present in those circumstances, because you can learn from one another instead of competing with each other.
Thank you very much. Just looking online, is there anyone online who wanted to intervene? Doesn't seem to be the case. We do have a few minutes left. Does anyone want to comment? Again, come again, or?
I think Abdias and Samad, there's somebody who wants to, can call on Debs.
Yeah, I sent a message and asked. No, it doesn't seem to be anyone online. Any questions here in the room?
Thank you. I'm sorry. You've been trying.
I think one thing that we learned also from the past experiences is that engaging the fellows in the redesign of programs is very important, and having them to be part of the governance of the program itself. I mean, what we did is that we chose a group. I mean, we got a nomination from the group itself to be part of the redesign of the next phase. So they drove from their experiences, what worked, what haven't, what would they recommend, what they have loved to do more on this kind of activity, and then we picked up those and we made them the core of the group. Also, when we including them in the selection process, so there was also a group that we asked them, different representation from the group, to be part of the selection process of the next fellows. that give us a little bit of well, first they knew a lot of those people, they gave us more insights, and they also had more like less bias, and they brought that perspective of they are in the same level, so they know what certain people would say, but also they could feel that certain fellows that doesn't have the the capabilities to market themselves, because a lot of great people are too modest. But they also know about some of their great work, and they were like saying like, no, we know like that person is like really amazing and they're doing this, but they did not mention this on their application. And that was really helpful to have on the ground validation of our members. And I think that's really helpful to have that check from the ground, and the connection and involved and redesign the program every time you get like a chance to do it. And I think having mutual responsibility in the management also really help. Well, it elevates some of the workload from us, but it gives us also more chances to get that responsibility. So they also feel from the perspective of the management of the fellowship or the program what is happening and why certain decisions are made this way. But by including them, we also get insights of other ways to do it. Or it could be easier or faster. Sometimes it's not faster, but at least when we make a decision together, it's common responsibility, and people feel good about it because it's our own decision. We're in this together, so when there is that freedom to make the decision together, it takes time, but it's really helpful to just get it, to get them all on board on this decision that they might be affected by it.
Thank you so much, everyone. Actually, if I may just reflect very shortly on our current plans and what I've heard. This is so inspiring to hear these things that we partly haven't thought about so much. I think as a Digital Constitutionalism Network and also with the cooperation, we can learn a lot. I mean, thinking about participation in governance, coming from a university setting, that often is assumed. So when we teach, we know there are formal roles for students to have in university governance. But if we branch out and if we engage other stakeholders, then this doesn't necessarily apply. If we think about this being open as a training for civil society, doesn't mean that people are immatriculated into the university, so they don't have the same rights necessarily. So we need to develop new governance mechanisms, and we can be more, I think, flexible in that sense with new mechanisms that might even be better than the ones we have. And so many things that I haven't actually thought about, like the question of, and your solution to the question of competition being people from different places, that really doesn't put them in the kind of competition. You in Asia Pacific have this automatically if you take one person or two from each country. So this was really helpful for us to think this through. And we were developing this, we're submitting this for grant applications, and we'll also update everyone who submitted the email address today if there's something coming through. And anyways, I've taken notes, or we've taken notes. We'll put this on the IGF website, obviously, after the session, and you'll get the survey results. Anita, is there anything you want to say?
So I just want to thank everybody for being so generous with your reflections, because I think there is a wealth of experience coming from different standpoints, and thanks for the candid feedback and your time to fill in the survey. Thank you.